So just this week, we've had a brand new release of the Raspberry Pi OS, and one of the major changes in this release is that the default Pi user no longer has a default password. This makes the setup process, the first-time setup process, quite a bit different. So I thought I would film a completely up-to-date tutorial on how to go from nothing to completely working Pi. The steps in this video apply equally to the Pi 3 and the Pi 4, but I have also included the extra steps needed if you want to connect your Pi 4 over USB-C to your USB-C iPad, like the iPad Pro or the new iPad Air. I'm aiming this video at complete beginners, so I'm going to go into quite a bit of detail, but I've also included timestamps in the description, so if you want to skip ahead to the section that's most relevant for you, feel free. So let's start by talking about the equipment we'll need to get a working Pi. You'll need the Pi itself, so a Pi 3 or a Pi 4, and if you're going to connect your Pi to your iPad using USB-C, you'll need a Pi 4 because there is no USB-C on the Pi 3. You'll also need a good quality USB-C or Thunderbolt 3 cable. I tend to use this Anker Thunderbolt 3 cable. It's a very short one. Shorter cables are better because they have lower voltage drop, and I just find the quality of the data transmission over the Thunderbolt 3 to be very, very high. If you find that when you plug your Pi in, it doesn't power up with the iPad or even from the wall socket, it probably means that your Raspberry Pi 4 is of an older board revision. For board revisions prior to 1.2, there was an issue with cable compatibility, and you'll need to pick a very specific cable. I've linked to a guide in the description below that has a list of known working cables for these older board revisions. You'll need an SD card, more specifically a micro SD card, not a full-size SD card. And I recommend at least 16 gigabytes, but I'm tending towards 32, 64, and even 128 gigabytes now on my own Pis. I think just get the largest SD card you can afford, but don't go crazy buying super fast SD cards because the Pi cannot take advantage of the super speeds on a say a V90 card or something like that. I've settled on using SanDisk Ultra Class 10 A1 cards. They're really cheap and I've had no issues with them, and they're still readily available. At the time of filming, you can pick up a 64 gigabyte one for less than 15 bucks on Amazon. So you also need a way to get the operating system onto the SD card. Frustratingly, you can't do this from the iPad, so you will need a Mac or a Windows computer or a Linux computer that you can do this from. Depending on the exact computer you have, you might not have an SD card slot, so you might need to buy a USB adapter so you can plug that into your computer and plug the SD card into the adapter. If you've already got one, then fantastic. If you haven't, then I can strongly recommend this Anker dual USB-A, USB-C one. Been using the same one for over a year now, had no problems with it. I think it's about £17 in the UK. So to burn the operating system to the SD card, we're going to use a piece of software called the Raspberry Pi Imager, which you can download directly from the Raspberry Pi website. So install that on your computer, Mac, Windows, or Linux. Make sure your SD card is plugged into your computer or is plugged into the adapter, and the adapter is plugged into the computer, and then open up Raspberry Pi Imager and let's get going. So with the Raspberry Pi Imager open, the first thing we want to do is to choose the operating system that we want to install onto the SD card. And to do that, we'll come to the Choose OS option here. And we can immediately choose the 32-bit version of the standard Pi OS. But if we want to come into Pi OS Other here, we can see the different variants that we have. And you'll be given 2 options for architecture and 3 options for the variant per architecture. So you can choose from 32-bit or 64-bit for architecture, and you can choose from light, full, or standard when it comes to variant. The standard and the full variants both have the graphical user interface available, whereas the light variant is just the text interface. I always start from light and build up from there, installing my own graphical user interface. But if you want to start with the standard Pi graphical interface, I recommend choosing the standard variant. Don't choose the full one unless you know for a fact that you want all the software that comes with it. It installs a fairly hefty set of software packages. When it comes to choosing between the 32-bit and the 64-bit architecture, I recommend going with 64-bit. I see more and more software that only has support for 64-bit or only has 64-bit packages. Now, while you could probably compile those things yourself, it's a lot of hassle, and the convenience of just having everything there makes the 64-bit a clear winner for me. There is a minor, very minor performance hit to using 64-bit, but it's not worth worrying about when factoring in the convenience factor of having all your software available. If you have a Pi 4 and you want to use it over USB-C with your iPad, then the standard Pi OS images don't have the necessary config to make that work. I have built my own images that just add a little bit of extra config on top of the standard Pi OS images to make that work automatically. And if you want to use those, you can download them from my GitHub page, which I've linked in the description below. And then when we come back to Pi Imager, if we come to Choose OS again, go back to the main menu, choose Use Custom, and then select the thing we've downloaded. So I've downloaded one of my images here, choose Open, and we're going to proceed with that image. This is only if you want to use the USB-C connectivity between the Pi 4 and the iPad. So with the operating system image selected, it remains to choose the storage to write to. Make sure your SD card is plugged into the computer or into the adapter. Select it in the storage option. So now that we've selected the SD card, all that remains before we burn the operating system to it is to customize the image we're about to burn. To do that, we'll come down to the cog icon down here, press on that. And the first thing we're going to do is select set host name, and we'll choose a custom host name. I'm going to call this test Pi. You'll almost certainly want to enable SSH for remote management, especially if you only use the light version, and especially if you're connecting to your Pi from your iPad. So click enable SSH. It's enough by default, at least, to leave it as use password authentication. You're going to use your user and password to log in over SSH in a second. Feel free to change the default username if you want. I'm going to leave it as Pi. I'm going to set a password. And I'm also going to configure my wireless LAN. So that's my SSID. I'll type my password in here. This is not my password, obviously. So set your real password there. And make sure you choose the correct wireless LAN country. So I'm in the UK, GB. You might also want to set your locale, so you get your time zone and your keyboard layout and so forth. Click save. Actually, let me show you one more thing. I disabled telemetry. Up to you if you want to leave that in. I don't like the idea of my Pi phoning back to some server somewhere, sending data, so I've disabled that. Click save, and then click write. You'll be prompted to confirm that you actually do want to erase the data that's on the SD card. Obviously, don't use an SD card that's got photos or something on like that, unless you absolutely want to destroy that data. Press yes. You'll wait about 4 or 5 minutes. Before you do that, you'll have to type in your password and press OK. As I say, this will take 4 or 5 minutes. I'll come back once it's done. Once the write finishes, you'll be able to press continue and remove the SD card from your computer. So now we've got the OS on our SD card, we can pop that card into the Raspberry Pi and boot it up. If you're connecting your Pi to your iPad, then connect them over USB-C and boot it up that way. Otherwise, plug it into a wall socket and power it on. I think there's one more step we should do before we consider this a complete setup, and that is to run the software update. The easiest way to do the software update is to use the command line. If you went with a GUI version of the Raspberry Pi, then you can open up the terminal app in your Pi and type the commands in there. If you didn't do that, probably the easiest way is to connect over SSH. So you can just run SSH Pi at, then the host name you assigned your Pi, and we go from there. If you're using the iPad, this will still work over the USB-C connection, which is what I'm going to do to finish up. So here I am, I've got my Pi connected to my iPad over the USB-C connection. I'm going to SSH in, and I'm going to first run sudo apt upgrade. This will tell the Pi to update its internal catalog, if you will, of all known packages. Once that catalog is updated, we can say to the Pi, please upgrade the versions I have installed to the latest versions with sudo apt upgrade. Okay, that's now finished, and we have a fully up-to-date Pi running the latest version of Raspberry Pi OS. So I think the change to remove the default password for the default user is a great one for security, and I really like the fact that Raspberry Pi Imager now provides a little wizard to customize things like that user, customize the Wi-Fi, customize the host name. This just removes a whole bunch of niggles when you're configuring a Pi for the first time. I hope you found this video useful. If so, please hit like, please hit subscribe, and don't just hit subscribe, but hit the bell as well so you don't miss out on any future content. I've got loads more videos coming about the Raspberry Pi and loads more about using it with the iPad as well. So stay tuned for more on that, and I'll see you in the next video.